Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar, Attracting Talent in Frederick's Booming Biotech Industry, brought to you today by Frederick County and Frederick City Economic Development, and hosted today by BioBuzz. My name is Chris Frew. I'm the CEO of Workforce Genetics. I'll be your host for today's panel discussion. We have a whole panel of really exciting people that I'm looking forward to bringing to you today. Leaders from the Frederick biotech community that are on the front line of attracting talent to their companies and educating the future talent that will be joining your companies. So we've got a really great discussion for you today. And I'm very excited to help bring it to you. Workforce Genetics is a life science recruiting and search firm. So we also are on the front lines of this, and we feel the pain that our customers have every day. So this is a discussion that is close to our heart, and I look forward to continue that conversation. So before we kick things off with our panel discussion, I would like to introduce our sponsors for today's event. Mary from the city and Salash from the county. So I'll turn it over to you two to give us a little introduction to this event.
Well, thank you so much. We're really excited too for this timely discussion. I'm Mary Ford-Nail, Economic Development Manager with the City of Frederick. Salash?
Yes, thank you, Chris. And this is Salash Aviles. I am a Business Development Manager with Frederick County Office of Economic Development. Very excited to be here and have this great panel speaking about our great community. And to kick things off, I'm going to share my screen real quick. We just want to give an overview of Frederick County and Frederick County Economic Development, city and county, I should say. One quick second while I'll do that. There we go. I'll start by kicking things off. This slide just shows a little bit about our statewide, how strong Maryland is economically speaking, and how great it is with innovation and a lot of entrepreneurs in our area, as well as a very highly educated workforce. We're also located strategically very nearby airports, international airports, as well as municipal airports in the city of Frederick, with also great assets at the Port of Baltimore nearby, and just adjacent to DC metro area, as well as Baltimore.
Great. And honestly, part of why Frederick is getting this attention is because we're getting national attention. We've been featured as one of the top 100 places to live and, you know, a great place for recent grads. But more importantly, we're one of the best cities for craft beverages. What can I say? It's just a great place, and that helps us sell our story of why Frederick is great. And one of the other things too that we notice, especially when you're trying to attract talent, is we are often asked about the quality of life piece. So that's really important. We find that when we're talking with companies about whether they're trying to decide to locate here. And we have wonderful park system, and we have great food and beverage destinations. And again, we have a very vibrant arts and entertainment scene. So that just paints a really positive picture about Frederick. And another piece of that, of course, too, is our higher education piece. We're very fortunate to have 3 great institutions here, Hood College, Mount St. Mary's, and Frederick Community College. And you have one of the panelists today, Savita's from FCC. And I think it's those partnerships that we've formed to try to develop programs that support our companies. That is a really a key differentiator with helping with Frederick and put Frederick on the map.
And with all of that education, it leads to our workforce. Like I said, Maryland is strategically located, and we draw workforce from all around the East Coast. And really, we have great opportunities here to have the talent grow. And to support that, we also have Frederick County Workforce Services, which is a great asset to our community because they help our business community with hiring support, advertising, and promoting job posting, as well as referring candidates back to these businesses, back to these job postings as well. And they also support them with training opportunities, either with training grants or other online training options that would further develop the workforce.
And of course, the important piece of the location is the regional initiatives. And that is working collaboratively between city, county, and state economic development partners. And, you know, again, it's working with groups like BioBuzz and working with the biohealth capital region and the Maryland Tech Council. These are all very great partners in the ecosystem and helping to develop programs and talent pipelines for our companies is very, very important. And we know that we have to continue to try to focus on those education pieces at an earlier age, such as with our middle school and high school students. And right now, as we know, biohealth is a very important employer in Frederick. And we know Fort Detrick is a big player in that, obviously having some of that, those national agencies there, as well as the National Cancer Lab as well. AstraZeneca, of course, is one of our larger employers, Lonza, as well as Thermo Fisher. So again, that's helping to solidify some of the presence of some of these players in our marketplace. And regarding the ecosystem, we find that we're getting stronger and stronger. We already have 80+ life science companies, more coming. And we seem to have a niche developing primarily in cell therapy and manufacturing. And again, we have a cluster of major government funded research in our marketplace. So that's important. We've talked about location, and we also have a very strong incubator with FITCI, Frederick Innovative Technology Center, Inc. And we also feel a very good, friendly, business-friendly environment, and that's where we work very collaboratively, city and county, along with our state partners, to try to paint the best picture for our companies in our marketplace.
Yeah. And the bottom line is that Frederick County continues to grow our biotech industry. And with those growth, it comes like more companies that keep on landing here, like our recent win with Kai Pharma and Illum just a few days ago was announced as well. And other companies that grow, like Biologic, that has expanded in the county as well. So with all of these projects, I just want to say that it makes this event even more important because we need that pipeline, we need that workforce, and we want to continue to help them, support them to grow here in Frederick County. So thank you so much. Thank you, Chris, for letting us speak a little bit about our community. We're both very excited and very happy to share everything we can about Frederick County. So thank you.
Great. And we have our contact information if you'd like to reach out to us afterwards. If we can help you with any resources, we're happy to do that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Salash and Mary, thank you. That was a terrific foundation to build this conversation on. And working with you for the past few years, I just want to emphasize that last point, that business-friendly community or climate. It's a real community. Something that always kind of really stands out for me about Frederick is the support that businesses have for each other, and the economic development and the universities. I mean, it's truly a real community. And when you land there, when you grow there, you feel that. And I'm sure you'll hear some of that from our panelists today. So without further ado, let's introduce our panelists. I'm going to introduce the panelists, and I'll call on you to introduce yourself. And please tell us a little bit about you and your company. And I'd also like to hear in your introduction, what has made Frederick a great place for you to grow your company and to grow your talent and your workforce in these recent years? So Mary Beth, why don't we start off with you?
Oh, wow, I get the hot seat. So I'll just lead with, I noticed Latrice Lewis is on the participant list, and I was glad Slush, you did a shout out to her in your opening piece, because we do partner with her locally to find talent. So I am a Frederick County resident, and I am proud to say that. I work for AstraZeneca for the last 3.5 years, and we are a global science-based pharmaceutical business that provides innovative medicines to millions of our patients worldwide. And here in Frederick, we manufacture 7 different commercial products. We also are the primary clinical bio supply source for AstraZeneca globally. And that's very exciting for our employees and very exciting for everyone here at the site. You ask why, what do we find with the talent here? We find a very energetic, diverse workforce, eager to build and grow their careers. And as Mary pointed out, they have many reasons to stay in Frederick and grow with AstraZeneca or any of the other wonderful firms that are participating in this panel. So I'm glad to be here, and I look forward to the discussion.
Wonderful, thank you. We have Jeff Wells from Biotech as well as one of our panelists. Jeff, you want to do an introduction?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, my name is Jeff Wells. I'm head of corporate development for Biologic. We're a small company, about 30 employees, and we specialize in providing services, CMC-focused services to all sizes of biopharm clients. I'd say at the end of the day, probably about 80–90% of our clients are much smaller in scope and size. And I think that's just kind of the nice fit that we make with some of these companies. Specifically, what does that mean? We're involved in upfront facility design and even through qualification of their facilities, equipment validation, environmental monitoring services. We also have a couple of software offerings for either managing your assets or also critical environment monitoring. And then more recently, and this really goes to testimony I'll talk about later, we've bought an office building that we're repositioning to have space for more space in Frederick for R&D biotech labs. And I think that's probably the biggest testimony to the future promise of Frederick and its growth for the biotech area. You know, the type of people that we hire at Biologic is actually anywhere from high school grads, associates level, bachelors. There's probably a little bit less on the master's, and very rare that we get a PhD. But I just thought that's important for the panel to also understand, is that we take kind of all walks. And then what's made it a great place for us? You know, obviously I live, and also our office is here in Frederick, so we're a little bit biased as well. But you know, I think the charm of Frederick, I think it rivals a lot of the other local areas, Georgetown, Alexandria, but frankly, you don't have the congestion that's associated with it. And then, as been mentioned earlier as well, I think there's also a lot of, if you're more of an outdoor enthusiast like I am, there's a lot more, I guess, quick jumps to get to that, to realize that type of activity right away. And then in terms of, you know, this is a huge shout out, especially because Biologic ventures into some areas we've never been in before. For example, being a landlord, the Frederick County and city economic development teams have been just invaluable. And, you know, we can also provide a lot of testimony on how great they've been and how business friendly they are, including ourselves and also for a lot of our clients. So we wouldn't have it any other way.
It's fantastic. Ed, let's give you a turn.
All right, thanks. So first off, thank you, Chris, and thank you, BioBuzz crew, for inviting me here today. Really appreciate it. I'm Ed Radwinski. I'm the head of people operations at Rooster Bio. So we are a startup manufacturing company in Frederick. We manufacture primarily stem cells for the regenerative medicine field. So really some cutting edge science and technology right here in Frederick. We also like to have a lot of fun. My CEO knows I'm on a video webinar right now, and she was just messing with me because I have a glass door. So we like to blend the science with the fun here at Rooster Bio. So I do appreciate the opportunity to spread the word of the bird as we talk about, you know, our recruiting strategies and what have you. So I've been with the company for about 2 years. Again, we have about 40 employees. We are a small startup right here in Frederick. I think Frederick's a great place. I live here, I work here. You heard a lot of great reasons for, you know, working here already. You know, there is a great sense of community, whether it's with BioBuzz or FITSE, Maryland Tech Council, Tech Frederick. You know, we're plugged into a lot of the local organizations, and there really is a sense of community to make Frederick County, you know, successful and a destination for biotech as well as other industries. You know, for me, the cost of living, not having to fight 270 south to DC or fight, you know, 70 east to Baltimore are great. You don't have to worry about looking at taillights, you know, for hours on end. So I think it does have a lot to offer. And let's go back to the beverage industry that was mentioned earlier. I think we have more breweries than any other county in Maryland. So it really is a great place to work and live with a lot of opportunities. You saw the list of a lot of the new companies that are coming here too. So it is becoming more and more of a cluster and a gene and biotech hub within Maryland itself, where Maryland is growing too in that capacity and becoming one of the you know, main hubs in the US. So I guess I'll pause there.
Terrific. Yeah, and last but not least, we also have representation from Frederick's very strong academic community as part of our panelists today. So Savita, please introduce yourself.
You're on mute.
So sorry. Hi, Chris. Thank you so much for inviting me to speak today. And my name is Savita. I teach at the Frederick Community College. I am the program manager for Biotech, and I've been working there since the last year. And the best thing that I like about Frederick is the enthusiasm and the support that everybody has for biotech. They realize how important it is. And so that enthusiasm we can transfer to the students and develop a workforce that has relevant skills and make the students understand that they're going to contribute in a meaningful way to the entire society. So that's what Frederick Community College is aiming at. And we really thank the industry, the workforce services, the Economic Development Office, everybody for their support. And that keeps us going. Thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, so now that everybody knows who you are, let's talk talent. Before I ask my first question for you, I want to set the stage with a couple statistics I pulled together, just about really where the whole biotech industry has come and grown over the past year. So these are from 2020 last year. The FDA greenlit more medicines than it did in any other year aside from 1996. Biotech IPOs set record deals, over $14 billion in 74 different deals. There was the highest total venture capital in funding history in biotech with 26 billion, blowing away a previous high of 2018, which was 19 billion. So there's a lot of activity going on in growing all your companies. We also went through a pandemic, where a lot of other industries were negatively impacted. Biotech industry and a lot of you all saw a surge in hiring to meet the demands for vaccine development, to meet the demands for diagnostics and other PPEs. So our industry really saw an incredible and unexpected surge last year. In addition, regenerative medicine industry is an extremely growing arm of the field. There are now over 1,200 clinical trials underway. 152 of those are in phase 3 and approaching commercialization. In fact, more than 100 clinical trials started in Q4 last year alone. So with all of that activity happening in this industry, demand is booming, but supply might not be keeping up with it. And I think some of us are feeling a little bit of that. So I'd like to start off, and Mary, maybe we can start with you again. What type of talent are you seeing that's most in demand now for AstraZeneca and for your facility in Frederick? And what are the challenges that you're seeing as a result for that talent?
So we have opportunities pretty much all the time at AstraZeneca, and the talent in the engineering, biosciences, mechanical areas. We work a lot with FCC and both their bioscience program as well as their HVAC area as well, because we need people that can repair and maintain the equipment on the campus. And so it's just a ongoing opportunities for people at all different levels for the organization. But I think the biggest challenge we have is in the engineering front and having people that are coming in with a few years of experience so that we don't have to train as much.
When you say engineering, can you be a little more specific? What type of engineering front is that?
Process control, automation, primarily automation.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, thank you.
Yep.
Ed, what about a Rooster? What are the biggest in-demand skill sets for you all and the challenges that you're seeing in those areas?
Right, sure. So certainly don't have the volume of an AstraZeneca or whatnot. Again, we're a small company, and we hire all types of positions, from finance to human resources to supply chain. But I'd say the biggest challenges are on the scientific positions, or the scientific related positions. So process engineers, scientists, both on product development side, process development side. And part of that too is we are very cutting edge. Some of our technologies are new. Some of you mentioned all the clinical trials earlier with regenerative medicine. So we're really at the forefront of a lot of this science, whether it's with our, stem cell manufacturing or extracellular vesicles or gene editing. So there isn't even like a huge bolus of talent in the market necessarily in some of these areas, because they are, cutting edge and growing currently. but I'd say more our scientific related positions have been the challenge.
Yeah, thank you. Jeff, what about you? I know you and Rooster are similar sized companies. How would you answer that question?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to echo exactly what's already been said, but I could also give a perspective too with other clients as well. And I think it's exactly that, kind of the engineering, the hard science type of roles are the most in demand. I think there's also, especially as you start getting a little bit of larger companies too, I don't know how it's being addressed at AZ, but a lot of our clients are really struggling to find a little bit more of the experienced senior level positions as well. This especially impacts like the quality assurance, regulatory style of roles that are required for almost every company who's providing drugs for humans. And the reason that one's so tricky is because a lot of those roles have a lot of discretion and judgment making calls, and it can impact how successful the company is, because there's a very fine line these companies have to balance, and that's to be operationally successful, right, and profitable, but also to be in compliance with the regulation. So that's kind of what we're hearing. Then back to Biologic, we probably struggle the most in kind of more the technical, roles to try to fill. That would be in our validation space and some of our technical mechanicals. But, we do try to, be creative and think outside the box to hire for some of those non-technical roles. And that's been pretty successful for us. And I can talk about that more later.
Yeah, terrific. Yeah, I think that what you're seeing is every company has, and that's what makes this industry pretty unique, is that there are so many different elements that go into a biotech company, and there's a lot of different types of biotech companies based on the product and services and what you're offering, but they're all specialized and they're all very technical in nature. I'm curious. What strategies are you using to cast the net? What are those marketing or recruiting, the promotional strategies that you're doing at your companies that is attracting and kind of getting more candidates to pay notice to you, apply for your jobs, that sort of thing? Mary Beth, you want to start?
Yeah, I'm happy to start there. So I think it's partnering with many of you on this call locally to make sure that we're tapped to the local talent pipeline, and the schools in the pipeline. We also primarily use LinkedIn to do recruiting, and LinkedIn provides us an opportunity to share stories about who the person would work for, what drug product, or how they're going to contribute to the organization. And we're finding that talents, particularly in early career, applicants are looking for how they can fit in, how they're going to belong in the organization. Is the organization going to meet their sustainability desires? What's the organization doing in the community? So LinkedIn has been a way for us to share those stories about the opportunities that we have available, and then obviously tapping into the local market. Those are our two primary ways for attracting talent.
Yeah, that's
here,
great.
Frederick.
So you mentioned LinkedIn. I'm just curious, as you're representing such a large company, has focus shifted away from some of the more traditional job boards to these platforms like LinkedIn, and kind of where you can tell your story? What have you seen in that kind of shift over the years?
No, absolutely. LinkedIn, you're able to paint this story. We do post on the major job boards, and people apply through those boards or directly through our career site. But we're finding that people want to see who they're going to work for. So when you have the manager sharing their job opportunity with their background, their story, why they've joined AstraZeneca, and you then get to cast a wider net in the talent pool. And so whether that's early talent, early but middle talent, more seasoned talent, to Jeff's point earlier, attracting talent at more senior levels, LinkedIn is a very good source because you're able to really tap into who might be available in the market.
Yeah, that's great. Ed, are you doing anything similar or anything unique and different at Rooster to promote your positions and attract and get that specialized scientific talent?
Yeah, sure. So definitely leveraging LinkedIn, getting employee testimonials out there to share, more what it's like to work at Rooster Bio. For context, we call our employees roosters. I want to say that so you don't think I'm crazy, but I also tell roosters all the time that every one of us is a recruiter. It just doesn't fall on the people operations team. Everybody has a personal network or professional network they can tap into. They're going to conferences, even if they're virtual. So everybody can be a recruiter for Rooster. So definitely looking to leverage those networks. We also try to get out to the colleges and universities like, the other industry partners do, with job fairs and what have you. We'll post jobs, not just LinkedIn, but college boards too, especially a lot of the local historically Black colleges and universities, making sure we're casting a wide net to get a diverse pool of candidates. And just even, spreading the word of the bird, like I mentioned earlier, we did Bring a Broom Saturday volunteer event recently here in downtown Frederick. We all wear our Rooster Bio swag. We love our Rooster Bio swag. So just raising, the brand awareness and the awareness of Rooster Bio being, one of our, top employers for a small company here in Frederick County.
Yeah. So I heard so much, like, I mean, you have such you have names for your employees. You have this culture. I mean, it just seems so great. And I love the fact that you're saying everyone's a recruiter here. That, is that because it's a small company and everyone kind of wears a lot of hats, or is that just, that's what people assume walking in the door because that's your talent strategy?
That's part of our strategy, and that should be every company's strategy. Again, everybody has a personal and professional network. Everybody can tap into those networks to draw candidates to the company. We also have a concerted effort where my team works closely with our marketing department to put content out on our social media channels on a regular basis to get more of a feel of what it's like to work at Rooster Bio. We put a lot of energy into our culture in-house, and we want to share that with those outside the company too. So again, being very intentional with sharing what it's like to work here through our marketing department, whether it's LinkedIn, Facebook, other channels too. And I get comments on a regular basis from candidates saying, hey, I kind of feel like I know what it's like working there because, I saw this posting or that posting, or, you had a whole bunch of people cleaning the street. How often do companies do that? So it really gives a good sense of not just what we do, but, how we do it.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I mean, I think that speaks so much to, there used to be this kind of saying where you post and pray, right? Where you just post jobs out there and you get the candidate that comes in. But so far what I'm hearing is that talent is something that's woven into the organizations, and it's again, part of the business strategy, no longer just kind of tucked away in an HR department role. At least that's what it sounds like, through so far. Mm-hmm. Jeff, I know at Biologic, you take a similar longer term approach, right? So, talent isn't just a kind of just in time type of thing for you where you're ready to hire once that position gets approved. Talk a little bit about.
We're not shy. Yeah, we're not shy about trying to use as many channels as we can, but I think Ed at Rooster Bio brings up a good point that I didn't realize we did until he brought it up. But I think it's part of our culture as well. We definitely are relying heavily on trying to some other kind of recruitment that happens through our employees, and they get obviously a priority in terms of interviews and such. I'm going to tell you that I think a strategic competitive advantage for Biologic, just because I've worked for the larger companies, I've worked at Baxter, I've worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, is our small size. We can be very nimble and very quick. An example is, I just chance had an Uber driver one day who had all the right experience and was currently looking for a job. I took that Uber ride to the airport on Sunday. We had him hired and in training by Wednesday of that week. So, and you just can't do that at other places, right? And so, he was very attractive on paper too. We could have possibly lost him to some other, firms in the area, but we were very fortunate in that regard. Another way, and this I think is a little bit more what you were getting at, Chris, is that for the longer term play, we've really benefited tremendously, more than we thought so, with our partnership with FCC, Frederick Community College. And how that got its genesis is that they just needed some extra lab space, and we had lab space for capacity, especially for the purposes they needed a few months, a year after hours. So we were able to accommodate that. And what that's now turned into is a much closer relationship with FCC. Their employees their students now know about us. Biologic is kind of more of a word of mouth type of company. We don't have great branding out there. We're not well known. And so now they are interested. And so we get some applications from them. We've also recently entered into a more formalized apprenticeship program with FCC. So we've have our first apprentice on board now for about the past 2 or 3 weeks. And that's working out really tremendously well for us. And we hope that that apprenticeship program turns into, you know, hopefully a mutual interest on both parties, that maybe turns into a long-term productive hire.
Yeah, so you know, it sounds like you're investing in these longer term, you know, we've talked about branding a lot, but that's a pretty external investment to kind of build a longer term pipeline. You know, how much of that was talent oriented? How much of it was, again, just Biologic being part of the, you know, Frederick Biotech community, or was it just a mix in how it kind of developed?
That's great. I mean, the genesis was we were just trying to be neighborly, but it's turned out to be, you know, a much, you know, more conducive relationship than we ever thought. And don't forget too, you know, and I would encourage other firms who are looking to try to recruit to do the same, you know, even if it's outside the region, because, you know, not only do some of the FCC students, they may not want to work at Biologic, but now they know about Biologic. They may have their heart set to work at Kite Pharma, for example. And now they're in Kite, though, they know about Biologic, so they could, you know, it's going to be kind of a squeaky wheel for us. So that seems to be kind of a common theme. But, you know, to be completely honest, this was not some genius play. We were just trying to be neighborly and help out Frederick Community College.
Well, it sounds like it's working. Savita, talk about that relationship. I mean, early talent development, we hear all the time from you know, it's incredibly important to fill the pipeline and get, you know, all the trials, all the growth that's happening. We need more, you know, talent in the workforce. So what's that relationship been like with Biologic, and maybe talk about, you know, how, you know, some of the programs that you're working on to help fuel that fuel the talent pipeline.
So we are really fortunate to be working with Biologic, have it so close to the college, all the support that we've got, not only in terms of the space, but, you know, they're always ready to help us with any, you know, guest lectures or talking to our students or field trips into the company, because that's really important for our students to be able to visualize what the industry looks like, you know, what's really needed. We can teach them stuff in the lab, but unless they actually see it, it's very important. So, and especially because of COVID, we could not go to other companies for field trips. Biologic was right next door. We go there for our lab, so it was really good. And they're always there to support us. And through them, we are able to interact with other industry folks as well. And, you know, we are at the apprenticeship program. We are working with Kite. Kite is going to hire 2 people in the fall. We are working with TechCell. So if more and more local biotech interacts with our college, then we know what the industry needs. We can train our students accordingly. And the apprenticeship is a great program because the companies can retain the employee, right, for at least 3 years, and then they can train them, mold them as they want. And then, you know, once the person is there for 3 years, that person might just stay on. So an apprenticeship is a great program, both for the college as well as for the industry, I think.
Yeah, so not every company has to buy you a lab or get you a lab to get your students. The apprenticeship is another way that they can create that longer term approach. Could you talk about the apprenticeship? Because I think, you know, we work with some companies that are coming out of the UK, and apprenticeships are really big over there, but in the US, it's still an emerging thing. Could you tell a little bit more about what that is, and maybe how companies could engage with FCC, you know, around that type of an approach?
So GSK is the only other company that has applied to the state, right, and have got approved for apprenticeship. So that's why Frederick Community College took this initiative. We have applied for this program through the Maryland Department of Labor and have got it approved. So any company that wants to, you know, hire an apprentice or enter into this apprenticeship program has just got to talk to FCC, and, you know, we will do all the work to get the employer into the contract. So the company will just hire the student just like a normal employee, pay them, and you know, pay for their tuition and books. But even that, like, the state has a lot of grants that can take care of all that extra investment on the student. But it's like a regular employee that they can train and keep for 3 years, and that person gets the related instruction at FCC. So we will work with the student, as you know, to give them the required background for all the work that they're doing in their company. So it's a great, you know, program for both the company as well as FCC. and it'll generate the workforce that's required, right? Like the companies don't have to waste time training, right? They can just have the employee on board because their
Is it specific to one skill set or one functional area? I mean, Mary Beth talked about automation engineers. You know, Jeff talked about technicians. I know Ed was talking about more our, research and scientific base. So is apprenticeships, is it in one area or is it more broadly than that?
We could make it broader. The one that we've applied for is biological technician, and that is kind of quite general. And, it can start from an entry-level positions, right from, for logistics and raw material handling, as well as, cell therapists, so they can learn how to do work cell culture, GMP. So the one that we have defined is very broad, but if we have to go into engineering and automation, that could be done too, depending on what the industry needs and what the company comes to us, what the job requirements are. We could always modify that job outline.
That's great. Yeah, I just saw today too that Department of Labor just approved another $80 million for states to get support companies on their apprenticeships program. So it seems like it's a trend that I think it might be we might be seeing in the biotech field. Mary Beth, are there any other early talent development programs that you're investing in? I know that early talent is something we hear often from people that is challenging. Any partnerships with universities or approaches for how AstraZeneca brings aboard that demographic?
So I'll just make 2 comments on this. So pre-COVID, we partnered very closely with FCC and welcomed between 25 and 35 biotech students for site tours and interactions with our manufacturing leadership. And we have a large contingent, very large contingent of FCC alumni at AstraZeneca here in Frederick. And we've provided, similar to Jeff and Ed mentioning, guest speakers, et cetera. I think one of the things that we do we always have an abundance of people to volunteer is we do provide judges for the local high school science fairs and the middle school science fairs. And that's been a really big engagement. Employees love that. So more broadly, we have a broad internship program here in Frederick, and that's been a good talent pipeline. And I'm in 4 years of hiring automation engineers that have come through that are local Frederick County residents. They may go to school someplace else, but this is where they call home or grew up here. And so we've had 4 years running where I've hired automation engineers. They've been with us for a year or two, and then we hire them when they graduate. This year, I'll be welcoming 27 summer interns here in Frederick. 21 of them will be on site. Last year, I had 17 on site in the middle of the pandemic. And so that's been a really good boost for generating buzz about bio in general in Frederick County. Not all of them stay with us. We had folks that went to Kite when they graduated, went to Lonza, went to Emergent, went to other places over the last few years. So, we can do that. So that's been a big piece for us, as well as we mentioned earlier, using a LinkedIn early talent strategy for more broadly AstraZeneca in the US. That's worked very well.
For those who don't know that, like what is an early talent strategy for LinkedIn? Is that a product they offer, or is that just how you're approaching it?
It's not a product that they offer that I'm aware of, but it is providing targeted in-mail campaigns to certain populations of graduates that have a skill set that you think will be desirable for your higher touch skills. So if you are looking for something, I'm just going to pick this up, automation engineers, you would do an in-mail campaign targeting those students through Handshake or through LinkedIn, which Handshake is another early talent platform as well. So, and it's providing the stories of early career, early talent individuals that have chosen your company, whatever company name, to think about joining that company, either based on the geography, the type of product that you're looking to produce, and the work environment that they may be looking for, the cultural piece. So,
That's great. Jeff or Ed, I mean, is there anything that you want to contribute to the internships discussion? I think that's an area that we've also seen, a growth recently. I know, Jeff, you've already talked a little bit about that with FCC.
I have a little more to add if Ed doesn't, but go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, so we haven't gotten too involved in internships just based on our size, but we have had them. We're not going to have any interns this summer. One of the things we really like to do, but we haven't done it since COVID, is to give tours of the Roost. So we do call our workplace the Roost. So we love to give college tours. Usually it's a tour of our labs and then a panel discussion or Q&A session with a number of our roosters. So we love doing that. We have talked about expanding that out to high schools also in the area, and we had some plans to do that right before COVID, but obviously we put that on hold. So that'll be something we'll look to tap into in the future when we can. And we have talked about getting involved in judging some science fairs too, like Mary Beth had mentioned with AZ. So we are.
It's a popular thing. It's popular.
Yeah, absolutely. So those are some of the I guess additional activities that we have here at Rooster Bio.
Yeah, and then so I probably just wanted to add a new spin on what I've been learning, especially that I think fits well into the Maryland, deficit for good, especially fresh out of college type of positions that need to be filled here in the area. And my alma mater is Texas Tech, and so that's West Texas, and you can imagine it's kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's definitely in the middle of nowhere when it comes to biotech opportunities, and I don't know how I stumbled upon this now in hindsight. But the reason I bring that up is that Texas Tech has a congressional internship program, and they've pretty much owned the Capitol Hill here in the DC area with that internship program. It's been very successful. And I interact with some of the alumni folks here. And so the reason I bring this up is some of the hiring managers who may be interested. I am just now getting it started with the Texas Tech University to bring in some interns for what we consider and what our clients seem to consider a more important, I guess, time period. And that would be like the fall and spring semesters, because a lot of our clients spend a lot of time training the interns, and then they don't really get to do much hands-on work and benefit back for some of the companies. So I am trying to champion that in my very little spare time that I have. But I just wanted to let people know that, I think that's an option as well, as bringing talent from somewhere outside, the region. And I think it's kind of a win-win. And if their hiring managers are interested in that, I'd like to, pursue that further with them.
Chris, I want to jump in because I'm remiss in not mentioning a program that I think Jeff and Ed, I think, also participated in. That's the Frederick High School Links program. We are really partnered with Links, love Links. It provides the opportunity, as many of you know, for juniors and seniors to get work experience, and many of them go on to FCC and work part-time. And I know some of my competitors in this space have used the program as well, but we are actively involved in the Links program, providing, again, pre-COVID opportunities for students to come and explore and learn here at the site. And we also have an AstraZeneca FMC ambassador program where we train 10 to 15 employees at AstraZeneca here in Frederick to go out in the community to support STEM education. The science fair was just one of the many things, but our connection with Links is really a big one. And I think Ed, you have been involved in Links and are familiar with it. And I think it's a really great local program that's gotten a lot of national publicity because of the uniqueness of the flexibility with it. It's a really great program.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, I mean, and again, I keep hearing this resonating message about, how all of your companies are just very engaged in the community, and it's not just something that happens internal inside your company, that there's this very comprehensive community approach, and that the Frederick community, it sounds like it's kind of built for that. Another program just to bring up is the MTIP program, which is a statewide program that does provide funding for biotech companies or any companies that wants to hire an intern. So we'll provide some information on that as well. But that's, again, it's, for smaller companies, there's a cost to hiring interns, right? So, there are state programs that'll help you with that. Jeff, you brought something up, which, it was great to segue into my next point, which is some of that experienced talent, right? So that, more senior level specialized talent, A lot of it is local, but there's also a lot of relocation that I'm hearing is that people are doing. And so I'd love to hear from the panelists about, what has your strategy been for relocation and attracting talent from outside of the region to Frederick? And I think, what is it about Frederick that has made that, I guess, easy for you, or what's beneficial from location wise? Ed, do you want to kick that off for us?
Yeah, sure. So being a small company, we certainly don't have the same robust relocation packages that some of these other companies would offer, like AstraZeneca. So I'll let AZ and Emergent and GSK bring everybody here, and then I'll just poach the talent once they get to the Frederick area. So that's part of my strategy. We have offered some relocation assistance here and there, but I know it's not as robust as some of those other larger companies. But for me, part of it also is just letting candidates know that there are a lot of companies here. This is basically the fourth largest, biotech cluster in the US right now, that it's not just the company you're potentially taking a job with. There will be other opportunities all over the Maryland, DC area. So just letting them know that, hey, if it doesn't work out for whatever reason and you move your whole family here, you don't have to go back to the Midwest. You don't have to go back to Michigan. There are a lot of other opportunities in this region. So that's part of the conversation we have with candidates that we're recruiting from outside Maryland. We just moved somebody here from Michigan. We have somebody right now, up in Northern Jersey is going to be coming here. So again, sharing, hey, we're awesome, but there's other opportunities if for whatever reason, things don't work out. So I think that's important to share that with candidates.
Mary Beth, now that you know Ed's strategy, and you're part of it.
Believe me, Ed's not the only one with that strategy. Yeah, that's okay.
Well, I can tell you it goes both ways.
Yeah,
we tend to train some people, get them started, and they go on to what we might think bigger, greener pastures. So
not necessarily greener. It just depends on what they want at that point in their career. So yeah.
Fair enough.
Is there anything, is there a strategy that you have for that, Mary Beth? You talked a lot about LinkedIn stories. Are you telling any stories about the location also, or?
Oh, no, absolutely. So we have a very strong employee culture. I don't have a rooster. I love Ed's rooster. I follow him on LinkedIn, so he knows I comment on that. But we have a 94% employee engagement, positive and score engagement score with the Willis Towers Watson Pharma piece. So we retain a very positive working environment and create opportunities for people. We promote from within. So people come here and they can grow their careers in many different facets here in Frederick and in AstraZeneca. So and to Jeff's point, people want different things in their career at different points, and there's plenty of opportunity here in Frederick County. So that's the good thing. And I think the good thing is, organizations such as yours can continue to attract talent to expand the market because it's not a decreasing job market in this space in Frederick County, which is really good.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, so BioBuzz, we focus on helping to tell your stories of the great work that you all are doing and your people.
Yep.
But our audience over the past couple of years has rapidly grown in other markets. Whereas, 3 years ago or so, 3.5 years ago, when we first launched the media platform, we were about 80 or 90% a regional audience. And right now that's down to around 60%. So about 40% of our audience is now from outside of this region that's just really interested in the work that's happening here in Frederick and the greater biohealth capital region. So I think
surprised me.
Yeah, so there's a lot of interest in what's happening here, in this market. So, you mentioned employee engagement. I want to, while we have some time left, also I want to talk about retention because with all this growth, Ed's out there poaching people. We say that in jest because that is just part of the market, right? We're part of a community. We use the word competitors, but we're not, we do compete for talent, but we're all really ultimately serving the patient. So there's an element that people are going to move around, especially when you have as much activity as there is going on here. So what are some things that are important that you're hearing from candidates or that you're doing at your company around retention these days? I don't know.
I don't care who you want me to lead with, me or Ed?
Sure, if you want to, yeah.
Okay, so we have embarked on a larger company philosophy of continuous lifelong learning. So we're investing a lot in our digital technologies and our commitment to employees to continue to grow their skills over time, so that by 2025, the skills you need in the workforce are going to be very different than they are now. You're seeing that in how quickly, particularly in the last year, we've adapted to a very much a digital working environment. So that's only going to speed up. So we want to make sure that the talent we have has the skills they have for their future opportunities, hopefully with AstraZeneca, but it may be with Jeff or Ed, and we want to make sure that they have that continuous learning. So we've made a significant investment in our learning platforms this year, both locally. I've expanded my learning and development team here on site, and we're offering learning opportunities both through online learning, through different experiences, because experience is a way that you really can learn skills and try them out. The apprenticeship is not like that. That's just providing an experience for those apprentice candidates to learn and grow with his company and experience that. So we've made a significant investment in that, and that's really resonated with our workforce. So that's probably the biggest investment we've made in the last year.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Jeff and Ed, do you have anything similar or unique to what your companies are doing?
Okay, Jeff, you can go first this time.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I'd say nothing formal. I know one thing that's important to Bill and I is to try to make, Biologic be the place you kind of would prefer to work at. So I think kind of what Ed was talking about, I don't know if our culture can rival his, but we do try to keep the culture, just right. And some people don't fit in as very well either. We are a hardworking enterprise. But we also just try to keep, the bureaucracy as flat as possible, base it a little bit more on meritocracy, stuff that kind of differentiates us from some of the other folks in the business. I think inherently, our biggest advantage is that an employee of ours gets to see so many different clients and so many different types of operations, types of technologies. It kind of inherently keeps it fresh for them already. So I think that's the other thing we try to do, is to rotate them around a little bit to keep it fresh.
And yeah, we have a lot of the same activities and initiatives. So, to Mary Beth's point, we do focus on professional development. Every rooster is expected or required, frankly, to have a professional development plan that they review with their manager on a quarterly basis to make sure they are working towards, something. And we being a small startup, we're able to wear a variety of different hats too. So to Jeff's point, we're able to provide a lot of diverse experiences where maybe the swim lanes aren't as narrow at some other companies where, you have, what I'm making it up here, your QC hat, and that's all you're focused on. Here at Rooster Bio, you can pretty much get involved in any aspect of the company if you want to. Then aside from that, we do put a lot of focus on the culture. We have a volunteer group here called the Culture Club. And they're tasked with engagement activities, whether it's on-site fun, off-site fun, recognition, diversity and inclusion, sustainability. So we really try to offer something for everybody. There's not just one lever or one silver bullet to get people to stay with your company or come to your company. So we really try to cast a wide net and have enough initiatives, activities, and programs out there that appeal to really everybody, on some level or another. So really just taking a broad brush approach to it.
Yeah, that's great. I hear a lot of that, a lot of investment in professional development and technical development. I know that, programs I'm familiar with, like Biotech, which offers like research, workshops for advancing research skills. It's run out of Montgomery College. I mean, that's one where, you can send your employees to, or I know the state has a funded program, BioTrain also, which is free training for just, general skills development. That's also, I think we were intern. It's good for interns too. They come in the workforce without a lot of work skills. You can send them to programs like that. Savita, are there programs like that at FCC, or are there ways that employers can get in touch with you as well to, if they want to establish any of these continued development programs or relationships to keep their employees learning? I think you're on mute again. I think your mic might not be working. We'll send something out afterwards. Your mic might not be working right now. So I guess just we're coming up to the fleeting minutes. I have a couple questions from the crowd, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. And I do see that Fitzy said they have an EDGE program, an incubator accelerator program that others have found helpful. Let's see, let me look through some of the questions real quick. So what are the thoughts that you all have on full immersion by like boot camps? I mean, is that, you know, something that you've thought about offering for your employees or new employees? You know, like what type of training are you offering for your new employees as they come on board?
I can take that. So we have a 3-week orientation for our manufacturing techs as they come in. They do a full week of regular training orientation and then 2 full weeks of SOL training, which is called, which is Simulated Operations Learning Experience, SOL. I didn't come up with the name, but that's the name of it. SOL training provides 2 weeks of submersion in, as we say, you know, now it's all the gowning and all the everything, but touching and feeling the equipment in a safe environment for people to be successful quickly. We call it improves their time to productivity in a safe environment. We're looking at doing something similar with our labs. We have over, I think over 20 labs at the site. And so every lab has a little bit of nuances. And so we are going to be doing something like for the labs later this year. So the submersion programs are very good. We only do that with our employees. We don't do that with our interns or our, you know, someone, or we have co-ops as well. We don't do them with them.
All right, great. Another question that came in is regarding emphasizing, you know, you've all talked about internships, but the question is, how do the panelists address equal opportunity for older applicants, or especially local applicants who might be returning to the workforce? You know, do you have you know, any programs or emphasis on that?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good, MB.
No, you go. You go.
Sure. Yeah, we don't necessarily have a specific program or initiative to tap into that talent. Again, you know, we take a broad brush approach with the recruiting, as I had mentioned earlier too. You know, we always want to have a lot of candidates in the pipeline, and we're always going to hire the best candidate based on the position we have available and what they're bringing to the table. So we don't have a specific initiative or program at this point to target, say, you know, mid-career or more seasoned professionals. And it'll vary depending on the job too, what our recruiting approach is, but always looking for the best candidate.
So I'll add to it that we have a lot of former FMC AstraZeneca employees that may take a few years off to enjoy life in a different experience, and many of them look for opportunities to rejoin AstraZeneca. And so we have a lot of rehires of people who have maybe on a different track for 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. And so we find that we have that track that talent. There was a question about, you know, hiring. I've talked about internships and early talent. We hired the full spectrum in the last year. I've hired several director level roles that have been posted on LinkedIn and locally. I've also hired a number of associate director level roles, and again, they've been posted externally as well. We do tend to promote from within. So when you promote from within, you're generally hiring talent earlier in their careers. But we have hired, I've hired a full spectrum of age. I have 7 generations at the workforce. I have employees that are over 70, and I have employees that are under 21 in my workforce. And so every new joiner class has a full spectrum of early talent, seasoned talent, ex-military. It's a very diverse workforce. My workforce at the moment represents 32 different countries of origin, and you just magnitude that out a bit. So, and someone asked about PhDs. We don't recruit for PhDs here in Frederick. I have a number of jobs that a PhD is optional. I have a lot of PhDs that are part of our workforce, but I am not in a position where we have jobs that are only PhD open jobs. I don't have PhD educational opportunities. We get asked that all the time. You know, I'm finishing up my PhD and I need an experience to work on something to help me get that opportunity. I don't have that here in Frederick. I don't foresee myself having that here in Frederick. But so
we definitely hire a lot of PhDs, so come to Rooster Bio.
Okay, that's good. Okay, call Ed. Call Ed. Call Ed.
Yeah, again, it just shows the diversity of this industry, you know. So I know we're coming up. I want to be respectful of your time. If anyone is free, they can, love to have you stay on for a couple more minutes to talk. But in closing, I guess the one question I have for each of you in closing is, what's one thing you are doing differently today with your talent strategy that you weren't doing 3 years ago? And then what's one thing that you would recommend to companies as they look to their strategy in the future? Jeff, you want to start?
Yeah, I would say first 3 years ago, maybe I'll start with what to do. We're really big into being kind of creative in our approaches to recruiting because it is kind of tough. We're also, we try to be more active in kind of the non-traditional ways to advertise for jobs. That's these relationships we discussed with FCC, also the local high schools, and just kind of the word of mouth and part of culture. So that would probably be it, just to be creative. There's other ways, I think, to address how you go about talent recruitment. As far as what we've done, I guess, differently than 3 years ago, our hiring kind of ebbs and flows sometimes. So I would say 3 years ago, we were trying to do a massive, hiring spree. And, we were probably making compromises on the type of staff that we thought we could take in. We were looking at resumes and went, well, there's a lot of mistakes in that resume, but maybe they just didn't have time. Well, it turned out that those employees actually just, didn't really have a good attention to detail, which is not good for our industry. So I'd say now we're probably, even if we were facing a hiring crunch, we're taking our time a little bit more in kind of the level of scrutiny that we're giving some of these potential new hires.
Mary Beth, you want to go next?
Sure. I was smiling, so I thought maybe he was going to talk. So I think what we're doing differently is what I mentioned earlier. I think we're using storytelling and the experience of working for the company as opposed to just what the skills are and what you'll be doing. So I think it's a more holistic approach of how you're going to belong in the organization, how you're going to contribute, and how you can bring your skills and interests to the organization and make it better. And what I would tell, similar to Jeff, is you've got to be creative in where you find your talent. We have a +1 program where we reward people for bringing us talent, and we have a number of employees that will seek talent in order to have a financial opportunity to bring talent to the organization. So there's a financial incentive to refer people to us that if you're already an employee, and that's driven some diverse talent and some talent that we may not have even thought about exploring. So that's my contribution. So thank you.
Wonderful. And Ed?
All right. And Chris, you made reference to this earlier, but nowadays you can't just post a job and keep your fingers crossed and hope the talent finds you. You can't be passive in the market. So I'd say some of the changes here, just being more active. Getting out there on the social media channels, like I mentioned, showcasing the culture, showcasing the work environment, showcasing the positions, having those talent ambassadors telling your story, like Mary Beth had said. So really just putting some more energy and a concerted effort behind marketing the company as well as the jobs that you have available. And again, not just posting and keeping those fingers crossed and just hoping somebody finds you. Just being more active in the market.
Terrific. Savita, you want to try again? I'd love to hear, maybe from a educational perspective, what's changed in how you're in the programs that you're creating for companies over the past couple of years?
Yes. Can you hear me now? Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry. Okay, so I think what we have changed is, as I said, we are working closely with the industry. We are aligning our programs to suit what the needs are, and we are also trying to reach out to high schools and tell them what the industry is doing and how relevant it is, and they should join the biotech revolution. That's what we are trying to do. That's different. Yeah. Thank you.
I love that. Join the biotech revolution.
Yeah, I mean, as Mary said, we are also working with the links. We were there yesterday. We try to talk to students and motivate them, but sadly, students don't know about it in spite of everything that's going on, in spite of the pandemic. So we really have to get into the schools to generate a future workforce.
Well, I don't know any analyst that is saying that this industry is going to go anywhere but up and continue to grow. So we all have our work cut out for it, but it sounds like what you all are doing in Frederick is doing it the right way, sustaining community, building community, telling your stories, creating a good business community where people can feel that they can grow their business and attract talent. So I'm excited to help share that message to our audience today. We've got a lot of people online, and I'm seeing a lot of the good comments. So all your advice today and your stories and have you been sharing it, definitely resonating with the audience that we've had. I'd love to continue this conversation. I know these are topics that we could spend probably the next 3 hours talking about. So I would love to talk to each of you in further detail so we can provide even more expertise to our audience. So we'll follow up with everybody about that. And just in closing, I think that, again, from a community standpoint, you all are, being here today just, again, shows the commitment that you have to, I guess, a rising tide mentality. Something that I see in biotech is that there's more cooperation than there is competition. That even though that you may compete for talent, there's a lot of cooperation happening, and across the country. I mean, I think Frederick is definitely an example of where that happens really strongly. There's great cooperation there, thriving industries, and all of you are running successful companies that are clearly executing those strategies very well. So if people want to get in touch with you, we're happy to provide some contact information in follow-up emails. For those of you listening today, we'll be providing follow-up of this recording, so you could listen to it again or share it with your CEO or head of HR, whoever you need to share it with, or head of corporate development who is looking for the next place to relocate into Frederick, either one. But we'll be happy to share that information out. And again, please go to BioBuzz, sign up for our notifications in our newsletter so that you can stay up to date on all the recent hiring events and talent and information about the industry. So with that, thank you again to Frederick City and Frederick County Economic Development, and to all of our awesome panelists today. This was fantastic. I really enjoyed it, and I appreciate your time. So we will let you go for the rest of the day and continue hiring great workers for your company. Thank you again, and we'll talk to you all soon.
Awesome. Thanks.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the opportunity.
Have a great day.